and welcome to yet another day of space adventure.
What is up? I'm Zach from Crit Points, and with the news that A Hat in Time is getting an update where they're adding a bunch of new content and split screen co-op, I thought there'd be no better time to talk about one of my favorite games from last year, A Hat in Time. Gears for Breakfast describe A Hat in Time as a cute as heck platformer, and they could not be more spot on with that description. I mean, just look at it.
First, we strangle them, choke them, and watch them beg for mercy. That'll show them. No, wait, strangling is too kind. We smash them together into mush and put their remains in a jar. Then, we sell the jar for pocket money. That'll be the ultimate salt in the wound.
Just adorable. One of the things Gears for Breakfast did extremely well when making A Hat in Time was making every level feel diverse and different from one another. At no point did I feel like I had seen everything the game has to offer, because it kept throwing new and interesting things at me the entire time, which kept me interested throughout my entire playthrough. And the game's diversity does not stop there, as all the game's boss missions and the majority of the game's standard tasks are very different from one another. Besides the occasional find the key to unlock the door task, most of the game's missions have you doing something completely different from anything you've done before. Which I really appreciate, because even if a game looks really good and has an interesting story, if all I'm doing is the same thing over and over again, I could definitely find myself losing interest in a game. One of my favorite things about A Hat in Time is its amazing soundtrack. It might be one of my favorite soundtracks in any game. I mean, just take a listen to it for a second. Woo! That is some good music. And you can even get remixes for some of the songs through the use of Rift tokens. And while the remixes might not do all that much to change the game, they add a little extra zazz. And who doesn't like a little extra zazz? Speaking of Rift tokens, let's talk about some of the game's many collectibles. In A Hat in Time, you can collect balls of yarn, pawns, and Rift tokens. Pawns are the main currency you use in the game, and they're strewn about pretty much everywhere. I mean, everywhere. I can't get away from these things. This is not how money works. Using the pawns, you can buy new badges to attach to your hat, which can give you special abilities. The only thing you have to decide is whether talking to this guy to get the upgrades is worth it.
Hi there, young one. I am from a faraway land. I've seen every corner of the earth, and now I sell tiny pieces of my discoveries.
Unfortunately, after about 4 badges, I didn't really need any more to progress through the game, so I found myself with an abundance of pawns and nothing really to spend them on. I mean, you can buy a couple badges that just increase the game's difficulty, such as one that makes every enemy in the game one-hit you, but on your standard playthrough, the pawns become a little useless about halfway through the game. The next collectible we're going to talk about is Rift tokens, which, as I mentioned earlier, you could use to get remixes of songs in the game. In addition to remixes, you can also unlock color variants for your character or new skins for your hat. I am not a huge fan of Rift tokens, and I would much prefer if the game just had the remixes, color variants, and skins set out in the world in place of the Rift tokens, so I can just go and collect the ones I want, rather than use the Rift token slot machine mechanic, where you get 3 options to roll and select your prize, but you might not get anything you actually want. The final collectible we're going to talk about is the balls of yarn, which are probably the most important collectible in the game. Using the balls of yarn, you can craft new hats to help you progress throughout the game. Creating new hats is pivotal to completing the game, and makes finding the balls of yarn feel very rewarding, as you are then able to progress to new areas of the game. And it also helps keep old areas of the game fresh, as you are then able to reach previously inaccessible areas of each game world. Which I think is awesome, because I hate it when games make it so that the early areas in the game are just completely pointless once you get past them. So having a reason to go back to areas, all good in my book. If you're looking for some classic platforming nostalgia, then there's not a much better place to look than A Hat in Time. It is just a fun and enjoyable experience from beginning to end and one of my favorite games of the last couple of years. So with that, I'm Zach from Crit Points. See you later.